Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're back again, and we're doing a classic. This is the Garcia Mitchell 624. It's the yellow silver series reel, cream or white or what have you. Coffee grinder handle, comparable to the Pen 65. And I would say back in the day, and unfortunately or fortunately, I lived back in the day, this was one of the reels that you would go for. You would go for a Pen 65. You would use an Ocean City 112 or 113, and because of the great reputation that Mitchell had with the 300 series and 600 series and the like, their expansion into the saltwater reels with the 600 series, which had a narrow frame and a wide frame, and also had the versions without the trim rings and with the trim rings. But at any rate, those were one of the ones you would consider. I love these reels. I've never seen such heavy chrome on a reel, and probably won't see it again. But we're going to show you how pretty this one cleans up with just a little bit of effort. So we're going to take this apart. We're going to show you step by step how to disassemble it, how to clean it up, how to service it, and how to get it back out fishing again. And for a reel that's 50 or 60 years old right now, it's ready to go fishing again. All right, we start by removing the exterior pieces, and while I do that, I like to start by thanking our essential personnel, our emergency personnel, our healthcare professionals, our teachers, and anybody who's involved in keeping us safe during this pandemic. Your efforts truly are appreciated. Thank you for all that you do. For those of us that are not one of those, well, we need to listen to them. We need to wear our masks, maintain social distancing, and kind of practice being safe so that we don't contract this horrible disease. All right, I took the tie down and the screw out. I do not have the handle for this, the screw. I use a channel lock pliers and grip it ever so gingerly, and this one happens to be loose. But I don't want to scar anything up, but I do, of course, want to get this done. Somebody told me a 12-point socket works on some of these. I probably should have looked and see if I could have found that out. Okay, we're going to take that off. That's going to release the handle. You can either pull up on the handle or you can just back off the star adjuster. I like to back off the star adjuster. It keeps the tension even, and it also enables me to work it up without worrying about anything. I'm putting the chrome parts here because I'm going to clean them as one of the first pieces of what it is I do. There are 4 thick head screws here, so get the thick screwdriver that meets those heads. If you're having any difficulty with these, this has been in a while now, so if you're having that difficulty, please hit it with a penetrating oil or something of the like, just to make sure that it doesn't break off, because if these break off, you're going to have a hard time finding a replacement. That's the problem with this one. That's the problem with the Ocean City reels. When they went away, parts were only maintained for a while. Those new old parts went away, and unfortunately, now if you need a part, well, you kind of have to scamper for them. Look for donor reels or look on eBay sites or things like that to try and find the one you need. I've got a few extras. There were casualties along the way, so generally if I need a part, there's a very limited amount of them around, but I can generally make that work. If you need the drag washers, I believe that the Pen drag washers line up pretty good with this. We'll see when we open it up. We'll see if we need them, and if we do, we'll see which ones fit. I just took those 4 body screws out. I put some penetrating oil on there because there was salt buildup on them. Now I'm putting them into a parts tray. It's the bottom of a milk jug, but it serves me well. And what I like to do with that parts tray is make sure that all the pieces and parts are in one place so that when I go to reinstall, they're there. Wait do you see how well this cleans up. Here's something that's typical of this reel. You talk about failure points. There's spider cracks here. I don't know how well it's going to show up on the video, but I have yet to find one of these reels this age that doesn't have a spider crack along the bearings here. Don't worry about it. It doesn't affect the performance of the reel. All right, those come off. Side plate comes off. Here's your interior design. We're going to show you how to make this this comes apart, and we'll show you how to get it back together again after you service it. All right, here's your spool comes out, and we're going to take these out because we're going to clean them. And again, I've never seen a reel like this where the chrome can almost be restored to near new condition simply by buffing it with a little metal polish and some steel wool. So we'll do that. We'll probably wind up pausing the video at some point because you don't need to see me do all of these pieces, but I'll show you how it works and just how nice this thing comes out. We'll take 2 more of these out, and then we'll take the reel seat out, and then we'll get down to the business of this reel here. I like these reels. I think they're right on par with the Pen. I mean, everybody seems to have a favorite, right? Some will say, oh, that Pen 65 will beat this one any day. Others will say, you know, no, I'll take this one, or some folks will argue for the Ocean City 113. Doesn't matter. I call that, and I think what the industry calls that, is a passion industry. I used to say fashion industry, but it's sort of like, I guess, your personal computers. If you like Windows, or you like Apple, or you like whatever, then you're going to be passionate about that one particular one, and you'll make your arguments as to why that one's better than the other. At the end of the day, they're all good. All right, 2 more screws here for the reel seat. But these are nice reels overall. They're easy to maintain. Like I said, the only issue you run into is if you lose a screw or you have a piece of hardware break, then it's kind of hard to find. Otherwise, they're pretty good. All right, we're just going to use this one as an example here. You'll notice I'm putting the screws to that one side back in place. It's a good way not to lose them. We know that the big screws go on the other side. So I'll get started on this, and we'll come back. You'll see. I use a chrome polish here. I just did a video using a different metal polish. I'm not going to tell you one's better than the other. I'm just going to tell you the way that I do it. Seems to work nicely. This is an automotive product. Now, there's a lot of scratches on here. Polishes aren't going to take the scratches out. But if you get a reel seat like this, that's just got a lot of tarnish on it. Well, this one isn't that prone to corroding. You'll see, even though it's been used a lot, this one has not got all the bubbling that you would find typically on, let's say, a Pen reel of approximately the same usage. So we'll just do the 2 of these for a moment. And look at how that thing shines up with just minimal effort in terms of getting that up. You've got near new, except for some of those minor scratch points. We'll do the same thing over here. Just going to show you, just because this is, so it's amazed me since the first one of these that I've ever done, is just how much this thing can shine up and how good the chrome plating is on these. I'm just going to, I got a little bit more here, and I know Tom, this is Tom's reel. Tom will be happy that I took the extra effort there to do this. Okay, just again, just noticing that that's a heck of a shine for a 50-year-old. It's almost like an automobile bumper. Okay, I'm going to pause it here. We're going to come back and do that. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use that polish on the side plate, and we'll show you the results before we take off the internals. Okay, so like I say, the dirty dishes are done, but you can notice the difference in how that side plate cleaned up with just a little bit of that metal polish, the 4.0 steel wool, which is the lightest of, or the finest. It's not a coarse one at all, ultra fine, if you will. And here's why I said don't worry about those spider cracks, and you probably can see them better now that it's cleaned up, is you've got a metal collar here that's holding this bearing, so you don't have to worry. It's not being screwed right into the case. There is a collar that controls that. I'll go ahead and put that right back on. I'm going to move on. We'll take the rest of this reel apart here. Just tighten that down one last turn there. Got Got a little bit of stuff still on the top of that thing, so let's get that wiped off there. And just see a few strokes if that works. And I probably should have done this as well. I've done everything else. Just didn't realize I didn't have the rim done. But you can see just in a matter of a couple of passes with the steel wool, and everything kind of just comes right off with that cleaning agent. All right, so that's a whole lot nice and clean. Now underneath here, the only thing you missed, when I took that trim ring off, that trim ring holds this yoke, combination yoke jack, and there's a spring in the case here. We'll show you on reassembly. But if you open it up, you're going to see it's going to look like this, and there's going to be a trim ring on the top of it. But when you take the trim ring out, that comes off. All right, so we're going to clean up the inside of the case now. These go into my parts tray. You don't have to remove the eccentric. Just get it out of the way. I think that pinion gear is going to come out right now. That shouldn't be anything holding that at the moment. Nope. And then there's 4 bridge screws to hold the bridge on. So let's take those off. And we'll show you the setup behind the bridge. Simple design. I've seen this design now on the Offshore Angler, a Bass Pro fishing reel. So I thought that was kind of interesting. If you go to my video on the Offshore Angler, I think it might be called Captain's Special or Captain's something like that. You're going to see the thing. It's pretty amazing. All right, so here's my dog. You want to pay attention to that. Notice where that spring is. If you've taken this reel apart, you're watching this video because you can't figure out where that anti-reverse spring went. There it is. I am going to use my little pick to get that out of there. Just going to wipe that anti-reverse dog off. And we've got nothing but old grease in here. That's not a problem. So let's go ahead and get that cleaned up. I'll use a series of sprays. And first use a penetrating oil to dissolve. And use a Q-tip to get the big pieces off. And this is just old grease. This is typical what you'll find when you go to maintain any reel. And depending on length since the last service, it'll be how much old grease you're going to find. I'm just cleaning out the cavity with some various pieces. I use a pick here for multiple purposes. I like the cotton swabs, they do well. And then I like to finish it with a paper towel. Now the case is discolored on the inside from years of the greases and oils. Discoloration doesn't matter, dirt does, but not the discoloration. So if you find that it's discolored, don't worry yourself about that. All right, that's pretty much it here. We want to get a nice fresh coat of grease onto the little burring in the back there where the spool is going to sit. As I noted, if you need washers, it looks like these are the size 60 washers, the Long Beach series from Penn. We'll make a determination quickly about that. This also has a gear sleeve on it, similar to Penn. Take the hole, get a punch. If you can't push it out, punch it out with a dead blow hammer. That'll bring it over to the side. And if you need a little bit more, you can use a pliers to pull it out. Like that. Put it in safekeeping because it's another piece if you lose you're not going to be able to find. And then you need to work the gear sleeve off. Once you have the gear sleeve off, clean the shaft of the bridge. Do a little bit of work inside here. Put some penetrating oil or something in there to clean the interior from the dried grease. You'll see that there's buildup occasionally. Then we can go reinstall. This is the sleeve, the slot in the sleeve here where that pin was riding. Make sure you get a nice coat of grease on that. Make sure that the rest of your bridge is clean. Again, these are pretty heavily chromed pieces, so typically you're not going to find any kind of bad stuff going on there. Get that greased up. Put your gear sleeve back on. Grab that pin. Pull those pins in. You can tap them in. I use a channel lock pliers to pull them back in. That gives you even pressure from both sides, and you're not at risk of scarring anything or missing perhaps. Alright, let's see what we have in here for drag washers. Again, this probably marries up perfectly with the pen drag washers. These are hard, and this is fine. Just clean out the case here. Check the teeth. Looks like we have a little bit of some old dried grease on there. Let's get that out. I'm going to use a hard bristle brush for that. Okay, visually inspect it. Make sure it's in good condition. It is. These are hard washers, so you don't need to lubricate them. You do need to make sure that the the metal washers are slippery. So go back to that steel wool that you had. And some of this is just discoloration. Give that a good cleaning there. Certainly if there's any rough spots on them, you want to replace them or at least file them down or use something a little bit more. This is just discoloration. But if you have that, please take the time to clean them. Alright, there's two keyed washers, so one goes in first. And the second washer goes on. Now you get what's called the eared washer. It has the two on the outside, kind of looking like ears. Same idea here. Just make sure they're clean. You want the slip on these. This one goes in the middle and fits into two slots in the main gear. And make sure that you get them in those slots. Because if you don't, the drag won't work properly. Alright, last one in then. So this reel has seen a lot over its lifetime, I'm sure. I'd love to hear some of the fish stories it could tell about what it was involved in. But this one's going fishing again, and I'll have more stories to tell. Alright, that's the top one. I'm just feeling, make sure it's nice and smooth, which it is. Now if you wanted to, on a hard wash, you could put a little oil on that. You don't have to, but you could. They've kind of got the slip built into them. Okay, now there's two sides to this one. You can see it's a bell washer. It's got a curve to it, and the curve is facing up. Like that. Okay, it's time to reassemble then. So I'm going to get some grease and grease this main gear up. Make sure we get a nice liberal coating on there. And then we'll reassemble. I know I didn't take this off to start, but I'm going to take this off. I'm just going to use a nut driver for that. Because I need to raise that up and out of the way to make this work when we go to install the yoke. Alright, so main gear first. We're going to put the main gear in at about 90 degree. Make sure it's set in the cavity. Now we got to set the dog. This is your dog. It rides on this pin. It's here behind the bridge, just like that. And this cavity that's created here is where your anti-reverse dog spring goes. It is a spring. It will shoot. Please be careful when you go to install, but that's the proper installation for that. Then you can rotate this around. And unlike the pen reels, for example, you didn't need to put the screw in to hold the dog as a shaft because that screw is riding on that pin. So just line one of those up with the hole in the bridge, get it started, and get them all started before you tighten them all down there. One more. I see I made a mess of the outside of this case. We'll clean that up. It's just the transference of the grease and the light from this rubber or this latex glove. So I kept it off my hands, but it didn't keep it off the side plate. Alright, those are the 4 tightened down. Give it a quick turn. Make sure that you hear that anti-reverse. You can actually see it working there. Alright, next up then is the pinion gear. I've cleaned it. There's a little bit of grease on there at the moment, so let's just finish that. Amount of grease onto your pinion gear. Same thing with the yoke here. Alright, so this one runs, yoke goes into the slot in the gear. This is out of the way now. There's a spring that goes in to the cavity in the side plate. You ride the gear into the slot, and then you match the jack to the slot in the case, and now you can swing this around until it's seated properly. And then you can go ahead and tighten that nut down. And then I like to swing it over to keep it out of the way, make sure it's working properly. And that's how the trip lever works. Again, you want to hold that down, flip it over. Now, don't come back to that until you put the trim ring on. So we're about that part. I'm going to take my glove off now because everything is clean for the most part. And I just seem to be transferring a lot of grease and dirt to the side plate. So let's get that off to make sure it's nice and bright again. Okay, I noticed that I didn't do 2 of these anyway, of course, as soon as you take the glove off. But you can see how the chrome polish and the steel wool just, get these done in a hurry. Okay, the Forgotten Children are now done. Let's go ahead and install the side plates then. We're going to start with the non-gear side plate. We're going to make sure that our holes line up properly. And there's a little lip that needs to sit when you're properly aligned. Okay, so we've gotten the problem child taken care of there in terms of cleaning. Let's go ahead and reinstall then. So we have the external plate, non-gear side. Pulled the 2 rings for that. Now there's a difference on these rings. One of them has an indentation here. One does not. The one that does not is the external one facing outward. The one that has the indentation, you're going to notice it goes with the slot in the case here. So find that little bump, line it up, then make sure you align the holes like that. If you need a centering pin, go ahead and use a centering pin. And then you're going to notice on these crossbars that 2 of them take screws and 2 of them have little studs on the bottom of them. So this is an important one. If you don't pay any attention anywhere else, pay attention here. The ones with the studs belong in the lower portion of the 2 pairings. Because remember, on the other case we only took out 4, so we're going to put those 2 studs in right now. They're going to sit into a receptacle on the other side plate, but you'll notice there'll be 6 holes on one side and 4 on the other, and I can't tell you how many times you get messed up with that, and I just messed up here. I put it in the top. I couldn't remember one time I did this, and just for the life of me couldn't figure out why the case wasn't meshing. Well, I guess that's how you learn, and that's what I pass along. Alright, now we want the one that has the, will accept the screws from both sides. Same thing here. So the 2 that accept the screws from both sides are up top. The 2 with the studs are below. And then we have our reel seat. And I like to put the screws right back into the reel seat when I take them apart. That way I know where they match up. I know what side I took it off of, and I know where to put those so that I don't have any twist or something odd in the frame if the frame for whatever reason bent out of shape. Alright, we're doing this now. We can tighten them all up. Just gotta get that whole line there. Alright, so we should be good there. Let's tighten these down now. So if you have one of these, you can already see the quality of this chrome and how it cleans up. What we'll do is we're going to get some nice grease into the bearing. Now we're going to take that beautiful chrome spool and put that in. And now we do the same thing on this side. So you want to, remember I said you wanted to keep this trip lever down so that you hold that into the little groove there. And it's the same thing here. You got a six holes on the inside. Find a little notch, find the slot, and align the holes. Just like that. We're almost aligned. Now you're going to have 2 spots that don't have the holes. And then on this one now, you want to flip that about halfway because that's the only way you're going to get that other one in under there. And then again, align your holes. So you see you have the 4 holes for the screws there. Do that. Grease your spool shaft. Load this on like that. Find your 2 places on the back now where the stud goes in, because you have to seat those studs in order to close this case, just like that. Once you do that, then you can grab the 4 screws that belong in the other holes, and these have finger threads on them. So get them started. Three more. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to my channel, I ask you to please do that. Subscriptions are kind of what keeps my channel vibrant, and it means a lot to me to have people watching these on a regular basis. But more importantly, if you see some things you like, it gives you an easy reference point as to where to go back and watch it again, or in many cases to catch the upcoming episodes as I post frequently. So I would ask you if you could take the time and subscribe. I would appreciate that. If you have questions on this kind of a reel, or any reel in particular, if you're stuck on assembling something or something broke and you can't quite figure it out and you need a little assist there, I'm always open to trying to help you out with that. Just leave those questions in the comments section. And finally, if you need a reel serviced, well, I do that by mail. So if you want to have a reel service, contact me on the email on the business card that follows. I'll be happy to provide you with the service information as well. All right, drag goes on now. Use your handle if it's a little tight to grab the gear sleeve. Tighten it down a little bit more. Look how nicely that cleaned up. Press down. We've got our handle screw. And again, this is the one I don't have the wrench for. I don't need much in terms of tightening this down because that anchor will hold it. Again, I just do just what I did with the beginning of this, just grabbing ever so lightly with the pliers jaw. And then you got to make sure that you're aligned so that you can accept that little tie down so that V goes between two of the notches. And you should be able to put that set screw in, and we should just about be ready for a test drive here. All right, what can I say? Got a beautiful reel here, nice loud clicker. You know, that chrome shined up, and I'm going to do a little bit more because I still got some of my grease left over there. But that chrome, just whenever I find one of these, I find that if I use that polish, it works beautifully. This handle's a little thick. Sometimes WD-40 will work that out. Sometimes it's just life. There we go. All right, so there's the reel. Nice tight drag on it. Back it off. It's smooth for fight. And that's it. There's, and look at how nicely that WD-40 just worked that knob out. Just like that. All right, Mitchell 624. Saltwater fishing reel, how to take it apart, clean it up, service it, and reassemble it. So I hope you've enjoyed that. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.